Welcome on into Daggerheart Characters. My name is Steve, and today we are going to be going through some Christmas Ancestries. You can find a link in the description to this document that you are currently seeing, as well as, if I remember, a link to some Halloween-themed Ancestries that I already released. That video is also already up on the channel. It didn't go anywhere, so just look for like the video with the least views on the channel. Not that they all have a lot of views, but go check that out. I think that those are very fun as well. Of course, these ones will have quite a different theme. Fun fact is that I did find the Daggerheart kit, homebrew kit, which did help to make it so, you know what, guys? You can use these as hybrid ancestries. I forget exactly what they call them in the book, but you could use this top feature along with, if you wanted to make a half candy cane, half Furbolg. You could use Minty Fresh and then whatever the Furbolg's, is it Unshakable? I don't think so. I can't remember. The bottom feature for the Furbolg. So these are balanced in terms of top and bottom, the specific abilities, what types of abilities they are. They give you some guidance for that in the homebrew kit. So I took that guidance in order to make it so that these are a little bit more usable as well. That being said, let's get into this. So I do, sometimes these can be a little bit longer. I do like to get into a little bit of lore with some of these things because, compared to a lot of the ancestries that you would find in the book, some of these don't really have established, common lores out there in society. So I got to create something, and I think that helps to just give a little bit more to you as a player to work with. And of course, you wouldn't have to, follow everything directly to a T in terms of any lore here that I provide, but I think it gives you a nice base to work from. So let's start out with the Candy Cane Kin, which is an absolutely great name to say. Love it. So here is the Candy Cane Kin. They are sentient hard candy beans, originally crafted by Santa Claus himself, brought to life through powerful wizardry to defend the North Pole during an unexpected attack. Some sort of unprecedented attack. Small and sturdy, standing between 2 and 4 feet tall, no two Candy Cane Kin look entirely alike. Most resemble compact humanoids, striped in festive colors, with glossy, crystallized eyes, a distinct minty aroma that precedes them wherever they go, and when they speak, their voices ring with a soft, hollow clink. They do not age or possess any known lifespan, though once shattered, their magic quickly dissipates, vanishing into the air like a breath of air on a brisk winter's morning. Though undeniably cute, Candy Cane Kin are far sharper than they appear, as a little bit of a kind of a pun, a joke on the fact that, when you suck on the candy cane, you can create that sharp candy cane kind of dagger or sword. You know how that goes. Candy Cane Kin are designed as the infantry for the North Pole's army. Their boldness is both disarming and alarming. They're a clever bunch too, and over time, many have wandered far beyond their icy homeland, though they are a rare and startling sight to behold. Their brutal honesty and fearlessness make an interaction with a Candy Cane Kin a memorable one. Assuming the shot of meeting a living candy wasn't memorable enough already. Our top feature for the Candy Cane Kin is Minty Fresh. You have advantage on rolls made to convince or persuade someone into believing you. I just kind of figured, that would be a little bit, once again, talking about disarming, that disarmingness of them when they're within close range of you, that soothing smell, that, it has that menthol, that soothing kind of menthol feel to you when you're around others. And then the other feature, the bottom feature here, is Sticky. When an adversary moves within very close range, you can spend 2 hope to pull them into melee range, and they're temporarily restrained. So, a little bit of a protector element to them as well. That's going to bring us on to the Gingerbread Folk. Gingerbread Folk are tiny, animated cookie constructs imbued with the magical essence as warm as the scent of a fresh batch of gingerbread cookies, that the essence within them even is warm. They stand no more than a foot tall, but don't let that fool you. Their personalities are as varied and vibrant as any humans. They resemble basic humanoid shapes, truly basic, with a firm yet flexible flesh, and their scent is pleasantly warm until one is broken, at which point the aroma becomes strong and overwhelming. And this very much ties into one of the ancestry features that you get. Their bodies are decorated with sweets of all kinds, most commonly gumdrop buttons, candy eyes, and intricate sugarwork defining their features. Gingerbread folk have short lifespans. They emerge from the oven full grown and full of wonder, quickly developing snappy and unique personalities. Within anywhere from 5 to 10 years, their bodies begin to crumble, and within a year of that, their magic fades entirely. Despite this, they live full and vibrant lives, building and sustaining communities with the same materials of which they are made. They cherish the arts, storytelling, and community. Most stay at home, but curiosity occasionally draws some into the world to explore. No matter how far their adventures take them, they always return home to share their stories, passing them along to the next fresh batch of gingerbread folk. So I kind of imagine, just as their bodies are, their communities are rather fragile and decay and crumble rather quickly. So just this ongoing bustling within the community of them continuing to build up the community for their future generations to live in their homes, continue to live in their homes. As well as the fact that I imagine that there's maybe just one massive kiln, a magical kiln oven that sits at the center of town, where they're not constantly, but maybe even just once a year or something like that. It could be a big ceremony where they bake the next generation for one day or something like that. Is kind of how I imagine this community life working for the Gingerfolk town. Or towns. Maybe there's multiple towns. The first feature, the top feature, is Crispy. When you take major damage, you can mark a stress in place of one of your hit points. There was already a feature that helps you when you take minor damage. There is one that helps you when you take severe damage. So I landed on going with major damage to help differentiate this from those features, and it works a little bit differently. And then we have Spiced as the bottom feature. When an adversary within melee range hits you with an attack, they mark 1 stress, and this goes back to that line about once you're cracked open, that aroma can be very powerful and overwhelming. The spices that are used in a good gingerbread cookie. That's going to bring us to the Yule horn, also known as this is the reindeer hybrid, but this is the reindeer, Santa's reindeer. But these are, a little bit more different than just any old reindeer. Yulehorn are majestic, magical creatures often associated with Santa Claus, and some even claim to see them dashing across the winter skies at night. These humanoid reindeer are a stunning sight, standing between 6 and 9 feet tall, built for endurance and able to withstand the harshest weather. Their thick outer coats of fur shimmer with fine silver at the tips, a sign of the inherent magic that grants them flight. Yulehorn are tireless workers, excellent trackers, and capable of navigating both familiar and unknown territory. Their sense of direction and natural instincts are unmatched. So you get Yuletide Fortitude as the top feature. You have an additional experience called Bad Weather, no problem. Additionally, you can mark a stress to gain advantage on rolls made to end or avoid a condition which hinders your movement. And then you have Red Nosed, you can fly. You have advantage on rolls made to navigate or track. So, a bunch of little small features here and that additional experience. Hopefully I haven't overloaded with them with a little bit too much here, but I don't think so. Hopefully not. That's going to bring us on to the North Pole Elf, which of course is going to be different than the elves that already exist. North Pole elves are distinct from their more common elven cousins. Shorter in stature. Without their slender frames, they might be mistaken from behind for gnomes or even dwarves. They typically stand between 3.5 and 5 feet tall and share many of their classic features of their elven ancestry, including a similar lifespan of around 350 years. So the main idea here, just kind of pointing out that, in some ways, they almost look like they could be a gnome or a dwarf, but at the moment that you actually get up close to them, it's very clear that they are of elven descent. Just, much shorter, essentially. Where the North Pole elves truly differ is in their personalities. Warm, joyful, and endlessly energetic, they dedicate themselves to artisanry, spreading happiness, and delight through the wondrous gifts that they create. Stepping into one of their workshops is a sensory overload. Songs, chatter, and the constant motion of creation fill the air, yet somehow everything gets done. They live to work because they love it, and their purpose is reinforced by Santa himself, who ensures that their gifts bring joy to people around the world. And in this essence, it's almost like Santa's working for the elves. They're just doing what they love to do, and then Santa is fulfilling the mission for them by going around using his abilities, using his control over the reindeer to go ahead and share these gifts with the world. So, that's not wholly intentional. That's just kind of an observation I just kind of made while reading through that description. I don't know, kind of neat. But the top feature is Endless Joy. Once per long rest, when you roll with fear, you can gain a hope. And Workshop Animation. Spend a hope to create a small animated construct which obeys basic commands. When necessary, they share your evasion and traits. If an attack made against them misses, the attacker marks a stress. So they don't have any offensive capability. That's part of keeping these a little bit more simple, so that way it would make sense that you could have this as one of your ancestry traits instead of it being like a domain card, because obviously there is a domain card out there where you can create animated constructs. But it works a little bit differently. You can maintain no more than 2 at once and must succeed on an action roll to command them to take action. They lose their animation at the end of a long rest. And I hope that this makes sense. I don't have action roll 12 or anything like that because, well, first of all, I use this a couple of times throughout these features, and I've never really used them before when making classes, when making subclasses, when making my domain cards for the Tinker domain that I created recently, which is not out there yet, but go check that out when it comes out. Very proud of that. There are a few times where I've come across in the game where there are some features where it's like make a spellcast roll, and there's no like it needs to be of a certain, it's not against a creature, and it doesn't need to be of a certain, meet a certain threshold on the dice. It's just make that roll in order to do something. And I assume that the intent of that, and maybe it is spelled out in the rules somewhere, maybe I've forgotten about it, but is that if the roll is made with hope, that is considered a success. And if it's made with not hope, if it's made with fear, then that action doesn't occur. I assume that that's how that works. Let me know if it's different. Let me know if I'm misusing this or anything like that. But that is the intent of making an action roll. Is if it's with hope, then the action will be, will go through, at least in the moment. Because it's still your turn, you gain a hope, and it's still your spotlight. So then they follow through with the action. However, if you were to roll with fear, then your spotlight ends, thus the action does not get, finished, at least once again, at that point in time. Because you need something if you're going to use these in battle. You can't just automatically say, hey, he goes over there and he opens up that chest and he grabs something and he brings it back to me. You would need some sort of roll in order to make sure that you maintain your spotlight when doing that. Also, they lose their animation at the end of a long rest. So, as with all of these things, if you think anything is out of whack, if you think anything's overpowered, underpowered even, let me know. Or if I've written something that doesn't quite make sense within the game, let me know. That could always happen. Sometimes, I fix these. I rewrite them. I tweak them based on any kind of feedback that I get from you guys. And so it's also always lovely to hear if somebody goes out and does playtest these things. That's going to bring us on to the Kringling, of course, like Kris Kringle, Santa Claus. But this is the race of Santa Claus, or the ancestry that Santa Claus comes from. He is going to be a Kringling in this lore. So Kringling and humans share the same ancestral tree with similar general height and frame. However, Kringling possess an innate spark of magic that humans do not. It is no ordinary magic. This spark is uniquely jolly, giving them longer lifespans and a soulful, cheerful nature. On average, Kringling's average lifespan is between 125 and 175 years. I think we can just say we don't need average twice there. So on average, Kringling's lifespan is between 125 and 175 years. And the idea here being kind of almost like basically double a human's lifespan to some extent, and that comes through. You're going to see we're going to have a feature that has to do with their slumber, their sleeping, and that'll come up in the following text, as well as the fact that they have this little bit of inherent magic in them, and that, as we will also get through in this coming text, they don't really suffer from the same stresses that humans do. They're much more in the moment, they're much more joyful, and we all know how much stress can age human beings. So those three factors, their ability to really recover and fully invest in their sleep to an extent that humans do not, this magical touch that they have, as well as their ability to just stay positive, helps to expand their lifespans. They are naturally enthusiastic and joyful, taking delight in the little things and unburdened by the common worries that weigh on most humans. Kringling live fully in the moment, savoring every experience, and even their sleep reflects this vibrancy. It is said that waking a Kringling from their nap is the only way to see them truly angry. Their magical cheerfulness, combined with their warmth and generosity, makes them beloved companions and inspiring figures wherever they travel. So also a little bit of an element of like leadership in their, their inherent personalities there. The top feature that we have for the Kringling is Twinkle Step. I love that name. You can spend a hope to teleport anywhere within far range without having to make an agility roll, because you teleported. And the bottom feature is Fruitful Slumber. When you take a short rest, you can re-roll the 1s and the 2s of the D4 of your downtime move, or on the D4 of your downtime move, and take the higher result. So there's 3 short rest downtime moves that require you to roll a D4. When you roll those D4s, you can re-roll the 1s and the 2s on them, and you can take the higher result as well. You don't even have to take the result of that re-roll. So this just goes into that, once again, that inherent increased durability, sustainability, life force that the Kringling have over humans by allowing you to recover more in your rests, which is why you don't like to be bothered when you're sleeping. That's going to bring us on to the Snowkin. Of course, snowmen. Snowkin are made of snow, coal, sticks, a carrot, and the most important ingredient of all, the love of their maker. In one of the most mysterious supernatural events known to winter magic, every so often, a simple snowman springs to life through the unseen power of the north. Snowkin are born out of love and gifted life for a purpose, to fill something missing in their creator's heart. A friend, an ally, a companion for difficult times, a helper in a task too big to face alone. Once their goals are met, the magic slowly fades away, leaving behind a simple snowman, once again vulnerable to the elements. Standing between 3 and 5 feet tall, Snowkin are shaped from a special kind of enchanted snow that does not melt under normal conditions. And I kind of messed up with that wording. Really, they're not shaped from a special snow. The snow becomes enchanted when this mysterious supernatural event just kind of happens, when the recipe happens to be perfect and the snowman turns into a Snowkin. Some even radiate a gentle inner warmth capable of shielding others from the bitterest of cold. And this could have turned into a feature, but it does not for the snowman. But I definitely was thinking about it. Their voices carry through the air with an uncanny clarity, crisp, airy, and reminiscent of fresh snow crunching underfoot. Despite their brief lives, Snowkin carry a spark of winter's wisdom within their souls. They are whimsical, curious, and endlessly kind, bringing a sense of wonder into the world around them. So I think whimsical and wise are the two features that I really wanted to point out there for kind of the personality of these Snowkin, the overall personality of them. The top feature is Snow Globe. Once again, we have that make an action roll on a success, so when it's with hope, the area within far range of yourself becomes difficult terrain. You are not negatively affected by this difficult terrain. and Snowmend. When you are hit by an attack that targeted you, mark 3 hope to make a reaction roll against the attacker. On a success, ignore the damage. You could flavor this 2 ways. The Snowmend suggests that, like, well, they get hit, but then they quickly are able to just kind of refill in that snow of where they got hit. That would make plenty of sense. To me, this is more so like they would if somebody were to punch them into, that's the second mound, the second snowball. They might actually create a hole. Like, it's a reaction, and they would just be able to create a hole so that the arm would just go right through the center. No snow would actually get punctured by the punch. It is kind of more how like a flexibility, essentially, that they have that allows them to maybe avoid an attack with a little bit of hope, a little bit of luck. So, that is the Snowkin. Let's move on to the Nutcracker. While winter brings wonder, celebration, and warmth, its long nights also harbor darker things. Creatures that prey upon joy, steal away children, and gnaw at the edges of the season's magic. For generations, common folk have relied on a peculiar and steadfast protector to keep these threats at bay, the Nutcracker. Nutcrackers stand no more than a foot tall, but their size is deeply deceptive. Carved by master artisans and animated by ancient winter enchantments, a Nutcracker possesses the strength and resolve of any full-grown warrior. Their wooden bodies are painted in bright colors, often adorned with ceremonial uniforms, but beneath that charming exterior lies an unyielding heart. Vigilant, loyal, and courageous to the core, Nutcrackers take their duty with absolute seriousness. When danger stirs in the shadows, when winter spirits turn cruel, or something sinister slips through the cracks of the season, Nutcrackers spring to life without hesitation. They are the silent guardians of hearth and home, standing at the front lines against whatever seeks to unravel the joy and wonder of the winter months. So, they are protectors. You get Wooden Ward as the top feature here. When an ally within very close range would make a reaction roll, you can mark a stress to give them advantage on the roll. So very much in flavor of I Am Your Shield, but operating a little bit differently. And De-Shelling Bite. When you succeed on an attack against a target within melee range, if your hope die landed on a 9 or higher, then you add a number of d4s equal to your strength, minimum of 1, to your damage roll. So it's kind of like a rogue-esque little boost, but a little less control on being able to get that boost. But basically, you make a really good, this is how I imagine it, you make a really good attack, and then you're able to use, your jaws of, your strong jaws that a Nutcracker would have in order to get one more additional kind of bite in there to deal a little extra damage on that attack. And that should bring us to the last ancestry here, which is holiday-themed, Christmas-themed. I suppose these aren't necessarily Christmas, but they're holiday-themed. So I'll probably change the title to holiday-themed. Crampi are towering humanoid goat folk whose appearance evokes the oldest winter tales meant to frighten children into good behavior. Standing 8 to 9 feet tall, they bear curling devil-like horns, serpentine tongues, cloven hooves, and clawed hands. Their fur ranges from soot black to frost white, and their eyes burn with an ember-like glow that flickers like a lantern in a blizzard. Even seasoned adventurers feel a chill when one steps from the shadows. Yet, Crampi are far more complex than the stories suggest. Tireless and built for endurance, they wander the longest nights of winter, most often alone. They possess an uncanny ability to read the truth within a soul, its shame, its potential, its hidden desires, as easily as others a book. How they use this insight varies. Some guide, some punish, some manipulate, and many dwell in the spaces between. But all Crampi share one trait: they do not simply watch the world, they intervene, judging, shaping, and nudging events from the deep winter shadows, unseen and unbound by the world that they influence. So, the idea here was to to create a species, right? Not all of them, it's not inherently evil, but yes, they do lean towards at least a morally ambiguous area because they are very active in influencing the world around them. To what purpose? That's up to you exactly. But the idea here is that it is for an independent purpose, a purpose from within. They don't really form communities. Crampi are loners, lone wolves out there working in the world to their own ends, is kind of the idea here. So that's going to bring us on to the Grim Hide. When you would mark one or more hit points, roll a d6. On a result of 6, don't mark one hit point. Hopefully that's not overpowered. You got an ability like this for stress out there, so why not? And you've been naughty. For the bottom feature, when observing a creature, you can make an instinct roll against them. On a success, learn one bit of information about them. You could learn their unmarked hit points and stress, their difficulty and damage thresholds, their tactics and standard attack damage dice, or their features and experiences. Yes, this is a list taken from the Bone Domain card. I can't think of the name, but this is very much taken from that Bone Domain card. I wanted a feature like this. There's really only so many things that you could put that you're going to be able to gather information about, and frankly, that card has a really good selection of those items. So I copied them and put them here. So if you're going to be a Crampa, you don't need to take that card, although that card gives you a couple other bonuses that this doesn't, but works a little bit differently. Nonetheless, there you go. Those are your holiday or Christmas ancestries, and I hope that you enjoy them. We can change this to holiday ancestries. Holiday Christmas? Maybe like that, because, there's holidays all around the year. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this as much as I had some fun making it. I hope that you might test this out for a campaign of yours. I'm going to try to get this out sooner than later, so that way it'll be available for anybody who does end up doing some sort of one-shot with their group. If they happen to come across this in time, maybe they would offer this up as some options for their party to choose from to flavor their world all the more. So thank you very much. Peace out.